To be clear, the picture was of me, and I sent it. I'm deeply sorry for the pain this has caused my wife, Huma, and our family, and my constituents, my friends, supporters, and staff. In addition, over the past few years, I have engaged in several inappropriate conversations conducted over Twitter, Facebook, email, and occasionally on the phone with women I have met online. I've exchanged messages and photos of an explicit nature with about 6 women over the last 3 years. For the most part, these communications took place before my marriage, though some have sadly took place after. To be clear, I have never met any of these women or had physical relationships at any time. I haven't told the truth, and I've done things I deeply regret. I brought pain to people I care about the most, and the people who believed in me. And for that, I'm deeply sorry. I apologize to my wife and our families, as well as to our friends and supporters. I'm deeply ashamed of my terrible judgment and actions.
Well, I mean, the man is a creep.
So, Congressman Cantor, what should happen to Anthony Weiner? What should happen to Congressman Anthony Weiner? Should we pray for his family? Is this not for us to say?
I think it is up to Congressman Weiner and his constituents to make that decision. I don't condone his activity. I think he should resign.
Anthony Weiner, it turns out, committed the gravest sin of all, not a Republican. And this stuff is apparently okay if you are a Republican.
Are you gay?
Well, here's that answer. I'm not going to answer that. Why don't you ask my wife, ask my friends, ask the 10,000 sailors I served with in the Navy.
No,
I'm not going to answer that. That is so,
you don't have to. I said.
Well, but it's an insulting.
This ain't
Larry,
I didn't mean it to insult you.
No, not me. It insults every gay American because somehow, yes, it does. It somehow classifies people. Why would anybody even ask that question in this day and age?
You said you groped someone.
Well, and here you go back to that.
Who was a male.
And Larry, and I explained what that was 3 times. The number one reason that I'm not staying on Congress is...
Well, I mean, the man is a creep.
And this stuff is apparently okay if you are a Republican. When the story broke in the Miami New Times, Mr. Riekers told the paper that he had hired this young man in question because, quote, I had surgery and I can't lift luggage, which doesn't explain why in this New Times photo. As you can see, it is Mr. Riekers who is the one wrangling the cart, not his young consort. Mr. Riekers also told the paper that he used the trip to explain that the Christian faith is based in love and to show the rent boy how he too could be saved. Later, the young man who Mr. Riekers brought to Europe told the paper that he had spent part of each day on that trip giving Mr. Riekers massages. Very, very specific massages. You can look up the descriptions of them online yourself. There's no need to get into that here. What hasn't been appreciated about the George Riekers rent boy case is just how miserable he has tried to make life for other gay people in this country, and the fact that he's still doing it. So here's George Riekers getting caught at the Miami airport on April 13th, okay? That's him in the blue shirt in the foreground. It's a picture he didn't want you to see. The George Riekers he does want you to see shows up here exactly 2 weeks earlier in this letter, dated March 31st. This letter was reportedly sent to every school superintendent in America, all 14,800 of them. The letter advises school districts, quote, in dealing with adolescents experiencing same-sex attraction, it's essential to understand there is no scientific evidence that an individual is born gay or transgender. It is also critical to understand that these conditions can respond well to therapy. Right? If you have the gay, don't worry. It can be cured.
Well, I mean, the man is a creep.
The bottom line is this. I've been unfaithful to my wife. I developed a relationship with which started as a dear, dear friend from Argentina. It began very innocently, as I suspect many of these things do, but here recently, over this last year, it developed into something much more than that. I think that that is the bottom line of God's law. It is not a moral, rigid list of do's and don'ts just for the heck of do's and don'ts. It is indeed to protect us from ourselves, and the biggest self of self is indeed self.
as his remaining governor, Brian. It's up to the people of South Carolina, and that will play out. But listen, Governor Sanford apologized yesterday. We ought to be, really dedicating our thoughts and prayers to his family right now, going through a difficult time.
And this stuff is apparently okay if you are a Republican.
Larry Craig in a bathroom at the airport in Minnesota approaching an undercover officer for apparently gay sex. Come on. How many? That's it. I think, you correct me if I'm wrong, I think every remaining Republican in America is gay. Okay? And they're all at a local men's room near you. Who knew that? I didn't know that. Now all of a sudden I'm going to be paranoid about every, foot-tapping guy in every men's room in America. Apparently that's the sign, and the undercover officer knew that, and he came around, and apparently Senator Craig propositioned him. And by the way, you're getting this here. All the other news stories are so vague because they're so uncomfortable with the details. They're like, Larry Craig arrested in a men's... They don't even say men's bathroom a lot of the stories. Some of them do, some of them don't. Arrested at an airport in Minnesota. Really, for what? You want to give us the details? And, of course, you look into the details and you see why they're so skittish about it.
Well, I mean, the man is a creep.
And this stuff is apparently okay if you are a Republican.
Last year, I had an affair. I violated the vows of my marriage. If there was ever anything that I could take back in my life, this would be it.
Look, I mean, is anyone happy to see all that have happened? No. I mean, it's not good. But listen, we have our thoughts with their families and they themselves.
But if you're going to talk the talk, why not walk the walk and say, you know what, they should step down?
Well, listen, I mean, again, I say in the instance of the people in South Carolina and Nevada, it is up to them. I mean, those are the elected individuals by those states.
George, the prosecutor's case is built on what they believe is a targeted case involving sex, lies, videotape, and an affair. The allegation is that Edwards illegally used hundreds of thousands of dollars in private donations to maintain and cover up an affair with his mistress, Rial Hunter, during the 2008 presidential campaign. Prosecutors believe that this money from two major political contributors constituted campaign donations that Edwards illegally used as a slush fund to cover up an affair that would have certainly destroyed his bid for the presidency. George?
If it's a gift, then it's no crime. If it's a campaign contribution, meaning in furtherance of his presidential ambitions, and John Edwards knew about it, then prosecutors say they've got enough evidence to move forward. But this is a very aggressive prosecution. This is not the sort of case you ordinarily see. Prosecutors would say that the conduct here was so egregious that they felt they needed to go for the criminal charges.
Okay. Well, I mean, the man is a creep.
And this stuff is apparently okay if you are a Republican, if you are asking the Republican Party about it. Remember this guy, Republican Senator David Vitter of Louisiana? In 2007, David Vitter was busted for having solicited prostitutes through the D.C. Madam. The D.C. Madam was running a high-end prostitution ring in Washington, D.C. Her phone number list got out, and David Vitter was identified by Hustler magazine, oh yeah, as being a client of the D.C. Madam. His phone number appeared on her list 5 separate times. David Vitter was a member of the House of Representatives at the time. 2 of the phone calls from the D.C. Madam occurred during House votes. Really? David Vitter, like Mark Sanford and like John Ensign, addressed the media. He acknowledged that, yes, he, too, had been cheating on his wife. And this wasn't just cheating. Soliciting a prostitute is illegal, even in Louisiana. Illegal in Louisiana and in Washington, D.C. But Senator Vitter, who had previously called on Bill Clinton to resign for his affair, David Vitter decided that he was forgiven.
Well, I mean, the man is a creep.
When we reminded them that Mr. Cantor had previously spoken publicly about the John Ensign scandal, even though John Ensign is also a member of the Senate. So pretty please, what does he think about Senator David Vitter? We were told by Mr. Cantor's office, quote, Senator Vitter won re-election. David Vitter, that's already been decided. He was re-elected. Anthony Weiner, on the other hand, he must resign. And why is that? Because it is really only okay if you are a Republican.
And he's a member of the United States Congress, and he's admitted to flat-out lying, not only to the American people multiple times, but to multiple reporters, and even coming back to hallways after he knew what the truth was,
can I
and
ask
then lied
you
again. I mean, the guy...
is John Ensign a creep as well?
Well, you know, listen. I mean, this is about
can you
here
just
and
answer
now.
that? Because you,
I mean, John Ensign resigned. I mean, I'm not going to get into
was he a
all the
creep
details
prior
of
to
him.
his resignation?
I have no idea about whether or not he was a creep or not, but the man resigned and he did the honorable thing. And the reality is that I think Anthony Weiner should do the same. I mean, what's the solution? I mean, you've got Nancy Pelosi and my counterpart at the DNC basically being my counterpart's silent. Nancy Pelosi wants an investigation. Why do we need to spend taxpayer dollars on investigating whether or not the guy's a liar or whether or not he's fit for public office? The man should resign and we should move on and put someone else there that's fit to serve.
Should be noted that John Ensign only, Mr. Priebus says, did the honorable thing and resigned after it was clear that he was going to have to testify in front of the Senate Ethics Committee, after it was clear that the Ethics Committee had enough dirt on him to probably recommend his expulsion from the Senate. He didn't resign in shame. Oh, I've done wrong. He resigned about 4 feet in front of the pitchforks coming after him from the Senate he was part of. He only resigned because he was about to get thrown out. He didn't resign in shame. Is that the honorable thing? Mr. Priebus, who has presided over a Republican Party that counted John Ensign and David Vitter as its members in the Senate, never called for either of these guys to resign. He says he's still not sure if John Ensign is a creep. But Anthony Weiner must quit. It's okay if you're a Republican. As we speak, the House Republican Campaign Committee is demanding that any House Democrat who received any campaign donations from Anthony Weiner must return those donations immediately because it's tainted money. Now might be an appropriate time to note that the Republican Senate Campaign Committee was chaired by a man named John Ensign, while Mr. Ensign was stooping his Senate staffer's wife. Everything the Republican Senate Campaign Committee did was under John Ensign's direction in 2008. He even got the son of his mistress a job at the Republican Senate Campaign Committee while the affair was happening. I have no idea if John Ensign was a creep.
Well, I mean, the man is a creep.
So, Congressman Cantor, what should happen to Anthony Weiner? What should happen to Congressman Anthony Weiner? I think he should resign. Sure, his constituents should get a say, but me, Eric Cantor, I think he should go right now. What is the difference between Anthony Weiner and these other scandals? Other than the fact that when you stack them up next to each other, his, frankly, has less bad things you can say about it than Governor Sanford's scandal or Senator Ensign's scandal. What's the difference between Anthony Weiner and these other two guys? It's okay if you're a Republican. It is okay if you think that Anthony Weiner should resign, frankly. It is okay if you think that everyone who's gotten money from Anthony Weiner is themselves now tainted somehow by the fact that he had sexual relationships online with people that weren't physical but were online, and maybe people should give that money back so they don't want to be associated with something like that. It's okay. There are not a lot of Democrats rushing to Anthony Weiner's defense right now, certainly if you're looking to his friends and colleagues in politics to ascertain an appropriate level of response here. But I would venture the guess here that you can't both demand that Anthony Weiner resign because he's a creep if you never said beep about John Ensign. You just can't. You can't look kindly upon David Vitter in the United States Senate while demanding that Anthony Weiner resign. You, sir, you're fine. Anthony Weiner gotta go. Really? Seriously? Really?
Well, I mean, the man is a creep.
And this stuff is apparently okay if you are a Republican. Anthony Weiner, it turns out, committed the gravest sin of all. Not a Republican.